I am open, my heart is open to love. I am open, I am open, my heart is open. I am open, I am open to the living Spirit of truth. I am open, I am open to the living Spirit of truth. I am open, I am open, my heart is open to love. I am open, I am open, my heart is open. And once again, we are so grateful that you have been able to join us here at Unity Church for the Unity Cafe. This evening and for the last several weeks, we have been talking about relationships, and my beautiful wife Toni was not able to join us here this evening, and we are just knowing that you and I together are enough. That it says, wherever two or more are gathered, agreeing upon anything. This is Jesus. This is the words of Jesus. Wherever two or more are gathered, agreeing upon anything, nothing shall be impossible unto them. It shall be as they say. And let us, you and me, let us know together that in this flow, in this philosophy, in this new thought teaching, that we find health and relationships and all of the blessings that God has and is for us. And we found this. This is actually Toni. This is Toni wrote this. Relationships. We all want to have loving relationships, and some of the skills we need to develop to have healthy, loving relationships really require us to be aware. And that is true of all spiritual growth. It is about awareness. You know, someone came to the Buddha, somebody came to Gautama Buddha one time and asked, what are you? What are you, a priest? Are you a prophet? Are you a holy man? What are you? And his answer was, I am awake. And being awake, being more and more aware is the key to spiritual growth. As children, we begin to develop as we mature. We often develop the skills we need through our lifetimes. We don't know how to have good relationships without learning. Developing these skills can be an important part of our spiritual journey. And of course, who do we learn how to have good, healthy relationships from? For some of us, we were blessed to have good relationships modeled for us, from our parents, from our teachers, from our peers. We learn from our families, Toni says, from our parents, and relating with our siblings and classmates. Sometimes we learn bad habits, like bullying, which we take into our relationships. That was certainly true for me. I had a bully growing up, and those feelings do not go away easily or quickly. It takes some awareness to recognize that that being bullied is not the truth about you. The problem is more with the bully. If you let that bully have space in your head rent-free, you are abdicating the responsibility for your own spiritual growth and unfoldment. If we want to experience healthy, loving relationships as adults, we have to be aware enough to adjust and adapt our behavior. Having good relationships is important to our self-esteem and our self-worth. This evening, I thought it would be helpful to talk about some elementary behavioral patterns necessary to be able to have healthy, loving, and happy relationships of all kinds: friendships, family relationships, life partners, as well as more casual relationships. They all require that we develop and become aware. We need to develop sympathy, empathy, and compassion. Sympathy, empathy, and compassion. Sympathy and empathy are not two very different concepts, but rather two different points on the emotional evolutionary scale. I'm going to say that again. They are two different points along the spiritual, emotional, evolutionary scale. Sympathy refers to the ability to take some part in someone else's feelings. I feel your pain. Bill Clinton's favorite quote, or one of famous quotes. I feel your pain. This is mostly by feeling sorrowful about their misfortune. I am feeling bad. You are having a hard time, a difficult time with one experience or another, and I feel bad for you. I can also share your happiness. That is also a form of sympathy. Sympathetic, like sympathetic vibrations. You strike a tuning fork and it vibrates, and you hold another tuning fork up close to it, and the second tuning fork will vibrate in accordance with the first, initiated or spawned by the first tuning fork. That is sympathy. We feel for the other person. That is sympathy. Sympathy refers, mostly by feeling sorrowful for their misfortune. Empathy is a term we use for the ability to understand other people's feelings as if we were having them ourselves. Empathy can also mean projecting our own feeling into a work of art or another object. When you listen to a song that I sing and it touches something inside of you, that is a form of empathy. It is when it comes in a relationship, it is, I've sometimes relate this to, and this is a more negative aspect of sympathy, but you're down in the mud, and so I'm going to get down in the mud with you, and somehow that is going to be helpful to you. I'm going to feel your pain. I'm very, very careful about, if I am having a physical discomfort, physical symptoms of some kind, I'm very, very cautious to try not to tell a whole bunch of people. First of all, it's not good for my consciousness, but also if you put that you are in pain. I went through a period of pain about 2.5, 3 years ago. There was something wrong with my neck and shoulder. And, I tried to conceal it from as many people as I could. But I knew that if I were to go around just telling people that how much pain I was in, that they would have natural sympathy for me, and that wasn't necessarily a good thing. I didn't want them to feel bad for me. So sympathy can be sympathy can actually be, it has some negative connotations, in the sense that I will take the other person's feeling nature onto myself in an unhealthy way. That is not all sympathy. That is not all sympathy, because it is very, very normal and natural and healthy to realize that someone is in pain, that someone has been treated unjustly, that somebody's feelings have been hurt. And it is really, really a good thing to recognize that in them and to get in touch with those feelings within yourself. How are they feeling? And that's where we really bridge the gap more into empathy. Empathy, the difference between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is the older of the two terms. It entered English in the mid-1500s with a very broad meaning of agreement or harmony in qualities between things or people. Since then, the term has come to be used in a more specific way. Of the two words, empathy is the more recent entry into the English language. Sympathy was in use for almost 300 years before the word empathy first entered the written record in the 19th century. You might notice that both words contain the suffix pathy, and that is that makes them and that is what makes them similar. They share the same Greek root word pathos. Pathos. When I think of pathos, I think of Charlie Chaplin, because he was a master of getting people to feel, to get in touch with their emotions through the characters he portrayed on the big screen. That's what is called pathos. Let me see, which means feelings or emotions, but also suffering and calamity. While both words deal with emotions, they are still very far from being synonyms. They don't mean exactly the same thing. Sympathy derives from the Greek words that with feeling. The word is most commonly used to describe the way we share someone's feelings, especially feelings of sorrow or trouble. I sympathize with you. Hence, greeting cards given to mourning families are called sympathy cards. I feel for you. Sympathy can also refer to the sense of harmony with people of the same tastes, dispositions, or opinions. I am sympathetic to one philosophy or one school of thought or one type of music. I have sympathy. I have the same tastes as others. Let me see. When a person feels sympathy toward a cause or an organization, he has feelings of approval, loyalty, or support. Okay? When we have sympathy for a cause or for an organization, we have feelings of approval, loyalty, and support. We want to support that person. This is a quote from Martin Luther King. Pity may represent little more than the impersonal concern which prompts the mailing of a check. Alrighty? Oh, I feel sorry for you, here's some cash. But true sympathy is the personal concern which demands the giving of one's soul. The giving of one's soul. Nowadays, sympathy is largely used to convey commiseration. That there too, you're down in the mud, and I'm going to get down in the mud with you, and we're going to commiserate on how bad things are. Commiseration, pity, feelings of sorrow for someone else who is experiencing misfortune. And I think about our brothers and sisters on the Gulf Coast who are now recovering from Hurricane Sally, and for all of the people throughout this hurricane season that are, it's been a very tumultuous season for us. Lots and lots of storms. I think of the fires on the West Coast and in other parts of the West, but Washington, Oregon, California, and so many people are displaced. We have sympathy for them. We feel a portion, a small portion of their loss. If we were to feel all of their loss, that would be an unhealthy type of sympathy. People have enough problems of their own that they don't need to carry the burden, the weight, the full weight of others who are going through catastrophic situations. We do what we can do to help. We may send a check. We may do other things. But when we are engrossed in feelings of pity or sorrow, if we watch, I remember when the Twin Towers came down, when 9/11 happened, people were so wrapped up in the television coverage, they would just sit and they would watch the coverage over and over and over and over again and make themselves terribly, terribly depressed. And it caused some real problems in people's lives. That's a sort of an unhealthy attachment, an unhealthy form of sympathy. Let me see. The sense that often seems it's largely used to convey commiseration, pity, or feelings of sorrow for someone who is experiencing misfortune. This sense is often seen in the category of greeting cards labeled sympathy cards that specialize in messages of sorrow and support for others in a time of need. You feel bad for them, but you don't really know what it's like to be in their shoes. You have not taken on the full weight of their sorrow. What is empathy? This empathy is a Greek phrase that lends empathy. Its meaning is passion from feelings or emotion. Most people know empathy has to do with understanding and sharing the experiences, feelings, and emotions of another person. One of my favorite reads in the Bible is the story of Job. It contains a great deal of messages that I have found helpful over the span of my ministry, over the span of my spiritual growth. And in the book of Job, in a very, very short order, Job has lost everything. He has all of his property, his tents, all of his cattle, his family was all killed by marauders, and he has developed some sort of illness, some sort of skin illness, and it's covering his body in sores and boils. And three friends show up. Now, we could get into how great of friends they really were, because they come from a philosophical view that is not particularly healthy or helpful. But at first, when they first show up on the screen, they just sit with Job and they cry with him for 3 days. They just sit and they cry with him. This is empathy. When we are not taking on the full weight of what they are going through. We cannot know within ourselves what another soul is really going through when faced with a challenge in their life. We can draw from our own experience, but it's not a good thing to, well, yes, I remember when I had my, this or that or the other thing, because that's not being sympathetic or empathetic. You're bringing up your old memories and your old discomfort rather than being with the person. And that is empathy. When we are in empathy, we are with that person on a heightened level of existence. Our job is not to fix them or fix the situation. It is to be with them, to try to put ourselves in their shoes. And sometimes the most helpful thing that you can possibly do is just be silent and listen and recognize the feelings that are in that other person. Try to get in touch with those feelings for yourself. This is empathy. Empathy can also refer to using imagination to ascribe your feelings or attitudes to an object or a painting. The Atlantic, and I believe this is the newspaper, and it doesn't have a date or edition or anything, but the Atlantic says, from an evolutionary standpoint, empathy is a valuable impulse that helps humans survive in groups. I'm going to say that again. It is a valuable impulse that helps humans survive in groups. One of the ways that we show up in society, in community, in an organization, in a family unit, in a tribal relationship, when we gather together in groups, healthy empathy is an important trait. It helps us to get along in society, to feel for one another. I am thinking about the current situation with the Black Lives Matter movements and really all forms of historic discrimination. When we at least attempt to put ourselves into the shoes of someone else and imagine what someone else must feel like in the face of discrimination based on the color of one's skin, based on gender, based on sexual preference, based on gender identity, based on any superficial or external character, not even a character trait, but identity issues. People can feel so alone because they do not feel like society embraces them fully or completely. But we can have empathy. We can attempt to feel their pain. We can attempt to put ourselves in their emotional shoes and feel some little tiny bit of what it must be like. to live this way. And to embrace and support and uplift and love and cherish that other person, to see them truly as they are, sons and daughters of God, joint heirs with Jesus Christ, is the truth about them. And it doesn't matter what the color of their skin is, and it doesn't matter what their gender identity is. This is a quote from The Guardian. It says, people with a higher level of empathy learn to help others more quickly than their more hard-hearted peers, say scientists. As we mature, developing sympathy and empathy are critical to growing loving relationships. Sympathy is a feeling. Sympathy is feeling compassion. It is feeling sorrow or pity for the hardships that another person encounters. Empathy is putting yourself in the shoes of another. It's a fine distinction, but it's an important one. At what level or at what depth do we feel for someone else? And are we engaging our emotional nature in such a way that is helpful for them and for us? Are we engaging in our feeling nature? You know, the consciousness is our thinking and our feeling, and together they make up how we perceive the world, how we see our life, our world. Our consciousness is the filter and the projector onto the screen of our world, that which we see and that which we choose not to see. And empathy, sympathy, and empathy is part of that equation. It is the feeling part of that equation. As you get older, this is a quote from Hugh Jackman. He was in the movies. I think it's that Hugh Jackson. As you get older and have more respect and empathy, as you get older, you have more respect and empathy for your parents. Now, I have a great relationship with both of them. Now, I don't want to dismiss anybody's feelings who might not have had a great relationship, but I do know that my relationship with my parents got much, much better as I got older because I saw things from their point of view more easily, more readily. This is a quote from Edward Norton. Again, movie star, I think. I'm such a terrible I have such a terrible understanding of the modern media. I've always thought of acting as more than an exercise in empathy, which is not to be confused with sympathy. You're trying to get inside a certain emotional reality or motivational reality and try to figure out what's that about so that you can represent it. And this is actor training. Anyone who has studied acting in any kind of serious way knows that actually feeling the character's feelings. What must the character be feeling? Is it sadness? Is it anger? Is it a joy? What is the character feeling? And can you touch that feeling inside of yourself? Can you bring it forward? And that is the heart and soul of good acting. It's they call that the method. This is a friend of ours. This is from a friend of ours who writes a blog. This is Reverend Sherry Johnson. And in her current blog, she says, I have been thinking a lot about sympathy and empathy. Both are emotional responses to the thinning of the border between self and other. We are all one. We are all part of God. And when we develop sympathy and empathy, we erode the barriers, the miles that separate us. Sympathy is what we feel when some event or experience perceived as negative happens to someone else. It could be a total stranger a stranger we hear about on the news, or it could be someone really close to us, a friend or a family member. Sympathy is a sadness that we feel for someone else's unhappiness, someone else's sorrow or challenge. It might move us to action to try to help, but it is not our own experience. That's her definition of sympathy. Empathy is sympathy that has evolved a little further on the you/me scale. It recognizes that what hurts those we love also hurts us. So the sadness becomes personal to a degree. Empathy wants to address the cause of the pain, to ease our own discomfort by soothing the others, but at the same time it recognizes that we cannot truly share the experience. I've been very in touch with lately that I am a straight white man. I am the very poster child for the historic oppressor in our society. I cannot fully know what it means to be black, to be Hispanic, to be of a minority in any way, shape, or form, to be the other, the different. I know what it feels like when I have been excluded, and I can try to touch that in myself, but I cannot fully step into someone else's reality, having to live with the sorrow that they are experiencing in this now moment, or quite possibly have experienced throughout their lifetimes. I can't fully know that. The next step on our journey of development is our feeling level. This is, let me see. The next step on our journey of development, we are, I believe this is Toni again. The next step on our journey of developing our feeling nature, our ability to experience a deeper level of relationship, is to experience compassion. Compassion literally means to suffer together. Among emotion researchers, it is defined as the feeling that arises when you are confronted with another's suffering and feel motivated to relieve that suffering. And I think of people who choose, for instance, nursing as a profession. You cannot do the work that a nurse does on a day-in, day-out basis without having compassion for those whose suffering you are helping to relieve. Yeah, you do sort of have to harden yourself against it, but your motivation has to be compassion. Compassion means your feelings have prompted you to take action and to relieve the suffering of another person. Compassion kicks empathy and sympathy up a notch. When you are compassionate, you feel the pain of another. For instance, that's empathy. You feel the pain of another. Or you recognize that the person is in pain. That's sympathy. And then you do what you can to alleviate the person's suffering. Now, I always have to be at least a little bit careful about my compassion, because I have to realize that I am not responsible for fixing the other person, and I may not know how. The person who is standing on the side, on the coast, on the shore of a lake, and someone is drowning. Someone is drowning. Now, I can jump into that lake, but if I don't know how to swim, I'm not going to do very much good. What will my compassion? My compassion will not be helpful. So, when you have compassion, when you want to help alleviate someone else's pain, and you have compassion, you have to go about this in a cautious way and genuinely ask yourself the question, will my help the situation? People have a great deal of compassion, and sometimes some very, very unthinking things are said or done because they want to help somebody in their pain. So just be aware. Just be aware. There again, that's the keystone. It is our awareness. It is for us to wake up to what types of compassion, what can I do? How can I truly be helpful? This is from Rev Sherry again. She adds, when empathy continues to evolve, we feel compassion. When our empathy continues to evolve, as she sees it as a scale, first is sympathy, then comes empathy, and then true compassion. Compassion, this is evolving from you and me to we. A genuine sense that we are in this together. What's the old phrase? A high tide lifts all boats. An elevated consciousness is the very best thing that you can do for someone else. The absolute best thing that you can ever do for someone else is to see the situation rightly and to see this child, this child, the son of God, this daughter of God, this child of God, see them as God sees them. Whole, perfect, complete, just as they are, just as you are. Elevate your own consciousness. Jesus called it. He says, you're trying to take the sliver out of your own, you're trying to take the speck out of your neighbor's eye. Take the 2x4 out of your own eye. You're not going to be able to help that other person until you can see clearly. Compassion moves us from feeling sorrow for another to recognizing that there is no other. that we are one. It recognizes that while I am me and you are you, and the person on the other side of the planet is part of a different culture, we are all a part of the same species. We live on the same planet. We use the same resources: air, water, land, love, life, energy. The continuum of sympathy, empathy, compassion leads to the greatest experience of all, and that is oneness. Oneness. What Rev Sherry has done in her blog is to move us to the realization that every relationship is an experience of the divine. That's powerful. I'm going to say it again. Every experience, every relationship is an experience of the divine. We say namaste when we greet our neighbors. We say namaste or namaskar. The Christ spirit within me salutes or greets the Christ spirit within you. When we know and come from a true sense of namaste, we are praying to a visiting deity in the other and recognizing that deity within ourselves. We recognize our oneness with God, with humankind, with all creation. That's what unity is. Universal oneness with God, with humankind, with all creation. There is no other. Let me see. Every relationship is an experience of the divine. Considering how we feel and consider other people, how we respect and interact with each other, is critical to having loving and healthy relationships. Developing a healthy relationship requires developing deep sympathy, empathy, and compassion. Compassion is considered to be a high spiritual attribute. And I wanted to, let's sing a song. This is, here we go. This is Love Will Come Around. This is Greg Tamblin and Lance Cowan. Ain't you built that wall high enough by now? Something that I might fall and hurt you when it comes down. Oh, it won't ease your pain-filled heart. We're building a wall to keep you apart. Give a little love when there's no love to be found. When you give a little of your heart away, love will come around. People everywhere need a helping hand. Show them that you care, and there's no wall that can stand. Oh, I know it's hard when you don't feel good, but that is the time when you really should give a little love when there's no love to be found. When you give a little of your heart away, love will come around. Love is the only thing I found. When you give it away, it keeps coming back around and around and around. Give a little love when there's no love to be found. come home, round and round and round and round and round, round and round. Oh, dear ones, we are so grateful that you have been able to join us here at Unity Cafe. We come to you each and every week. This is our opportunity to pour out the gift of God from within us, and let us share our offertory blessing together first. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am joy-filled and grateful. Thank you, God. And you can send your tithes and offerings if you use PayPal. You can send to office@unitylincoln.org. Actually, we've got a brand new link, PayPal.me/UnityLincoln. It's not up on this placard yet, but if you're on YouTube, it is in the link down below. If you're sending your gift the old-fashioned way, you can send it to P.O. Box Lincoln, Unity Lincoln, P.O. Box 30209, Lincoln, Nebraska 68503. You can also go to our webpage there and find a convenient link to PayPal. You can support us by joining the Amazon Smile program, so that every purchase that you make at Amazon.com supports Unity Lincoln. Please like us on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube. Let's share a few announcements here. One of the things, let's see, our weekly worship service is 10:30 every Sunday morning, and that is also live streamed on YouTube and Facebook. Please join us for that. My metaphysics class is at 9 o'clock every Sunday morning. We're in a section of general metaphysics, the nature of reality, what is truth, the nature of God, who and what is God, who or what are we. Also on Tuesday nights, Adeline's Friends Book Club. Oh, I need to change this. They started up again just last week. As a matter of fact, last night was their first class. So, and they are available on, that class meets on Zoom. So, and they are studying Discover the Power Within You, which is a Unity classic. It is a must-read. Let's see. Also, we will be having a plant giveaway. We will be having let's turn that off. A plant giveaway. That is October the 10th. 9 o'clock in the morning. If you are in the Lincoln area, please visit us at 1941 North 68th Street. And we have plants. We have bare root plants. We have bulbs, irises, that we've got so many we can't put them in the ground. We've got more than an acre of land. We can't put them all in the ground. So we are giving some away. Please show up at 9 o'clock if you are in the Lincoln area. Also on October the 10th is our pet blessing. Now we are doing our pet blessing online this year. This is an annual event for us. We do this absolutely every year. And rather than in trying to keep social distance and all of the rest, we are asking this year that you send your pet pictures. You can send them to office@unitylincoln.org, or there will be a Facebook event, and you can post your pet pictures to that event. We are also, during this time, we are receiving donations for Lincoln no-kill shelters. We're in cooperation with the Cat House, and I can't think of the dog no-kill shelter, but it is here available in the Lincoln area. And friends, let us share an affirmation for our church family. Unity Lincoln is blessed to draw the people, the funds, and all that is required for the health and growth of our community and peace in the world, heart to heart. Let us share our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. And all is well. Once again, dear ones, this has been Unity Cafe, and we are here each and every Wednesday night. We are so grateful that you have been able to join us. Namaste. God bless you.